This episode is brought to you by Betadine. When you feel the sign, Betadine. Hello and welcome back to the Rebel Mama podcast. I'm Nikita Stanley.
And I'm Aleks Jassem.
And today we have a very fun topic to discuss. It's
psychedelics. Do you like my little glasses? I brought them just for the show.
Yeah.
They feel psychedelic.
They're very psychedelic. You're very psychedelic. Thanks, in general.
We have like I'm on psychedelics right now already. It's
just because of us. Even our aura screen over here
true.
Is giving psychedelics.
It's very true.
Of course, we brought in an expert to help us discuss this topic. So here at the table, we have the one and only Rebecca Nicholson. Welcome to the podcast, my love.
Thank you.
We're going to run through your bio for you right now. So it's okay. Just sit back and relax and enjoy all of your amazingness. Okay?
I'll do my
all
best.
the accolades. I'll be over here like
I'll try not to blush.
Clapping.
Yeah. Aleks will golf clap for you when
Thank you,
appropriate.
Aleks. A lot, please. Where's the violin?
Rebecca Nicholson is a thought leader, advocate, mom, yogi, and all-round badass. She's best known for her work as a facilitator, CEO, investor, founder, and philanthropist in the health, wellness, and psychedelic healing sectors. She's collaborated with Indigenous communities and world-renowned organizations such as Dimensions Retreats, Polos Global, Kuya Wellness, Othership, and Beckley Retreats, where her strategic vision and leadership have been pivotal in creating thriving, healing, and supportive environments. Brava, babe.
Do you love that?
No big deal.
A dynamic public speaker and panelist, Rebecca is celebrated for her ability to connect people and ideas, sparking transformative change across the globe. As a founding member of Celebrating Women in Psychedelics, she exemplifies commitment to both advancing her field and promoting impact, ethics, diversity, and opportunities for women.
Hell yeah. Thanks, babe. Thanks for your service.
I'm here for you all.
Welcome to the podcast, babe.
Thank you.
We're so
It's
happy
nice.
you're here. We're so excited. Can we feel it?
Can we just hang out every day?
Yes, obviously. We have so many questions
Yeah.
for
So
you
many.
today.
Mhm.
A lot of them are from us. A lot of them were submitted by our community, and there's a lot of overlap
Okay.
between the two. So we're going to get right to it and give the people what they want, which is all the details about all things psychedelics.
Okay, so we're always curious about people's origin stories. So can you share yours with us? How did you get into this? What led you to move into the psychedelic space?
That's such a juicy question. I had no plans to do so. I mean, there was really no psychedelic space 5 years ago, right?
Right.
I mean, back in the 70s, things were amping up and then it got shut down. So the whole psychedelic world, psychedelic healing had really been on the underground for quite a long time. I was in a place in my life where my marriage ended about 8 years ago. And then I had to really shift. I was in the health and wellness industry for many, many years. And it gets a little woo, but I started to manifest successful, satisfying career. But I didn't know what that was going to be. I mean, I had a university education, I had all these things, but I had to figure out how to become financially independent from my ex-husband. So lo and behold, I just kept opening up every single door that came my way. And I eventually was introduced to someone who wanted to put private capital towards the health and wellness, immersive wellness, and psychedelic retreat space. At this point, no one was still even really talking about psychedelics yet. It was still very, very early. And it still feels like it's still so early,
yeah.
right? It's still not mainstream. We're still not there. It's like we take 3 steps forward and then 7 steps back still. So
What year would that have been?
Yeah, I was just going to say.
So this was about 4.5 years ago.
Okay, so this is post-cannabis legalization.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So
Pandemic-y
cannabis happened.
times.
Okay.
All of a sudden, psychedelics started to get really exciting and interesting. And a lot of the same investors from cannabis started to say, ooh, this is going to be the next cannabis. Like, you know, all the cowboys were like, let's put in fast money and get out fast and make a lot of money. So when we first started this impact investment firm, we started to make, a lot of investments towards healers and healers networks and wellness and all these amazing things that I had personally been working in and like advocating for, I feel like my whole life. I was raised by hippies in the woods in Prince Edward Island. So it came very naturally for me.
It seems on brand.
Yeah, it's very on brand.
It's all making sense now.
Yeah. So it was at the very start, it was actually quite easy to raise money for psychedelics. And we were making a ton of investments and supporting the space. And then, I guess it was the start of 2021. Things just kind of fell off a cliff. And, when people still kind of compare cannabis and psychedelics, I kind of say, well, cannabis was like the one night stand and psychedelics is the long-term relationship. This is going to be marriage material. We're going to maybe consciously uncouple and then we're going to get back together again. We're really going to fight for the end product's family. So this is for the love of it. This is not for the quick buck, right? Okay. This is actually for integrity and reverence and respect and the right energy to support this entire industry. So again, we're not there yet. Right. It's been tough. Like we started a private equity fund. We supported more initiatives. We supported more companies like, diverting a bit from psychedelic retreats, but companies like Othership. And then, international retreats or one ketamine-assisted therapy clinic in Austin, Texas called Kuya. And they were doing amazing work, but we loved what they were doing because it was full mind, body, spirit support and not just the magic pill that everyone's just hoping for. Like, just fix me. It's not that, right? Sure. It's all the modalities working together. And then, so we closed the fund at the end of last year. And then since then I've been consulting with different psychedelic companies and health and wellness companies and really, continuing to advocate for this space as best I can and help people figure out their way.
And educate people.
Because it's not for everybody, but we can get down to that at some point in this conversation.
We will. We totally will. I promise. So when we're talking about psychedelics, what substances specifically are we discussing?
Well, here's your list. Actually,
I would like a shopping list.
Yes, here's your shopping list. Right here. There's everything you need. It's vast, right? So we think about natural plant biomass, which is being used before any of us were even here. I mean, some people, speak that we come from mushrooms, like we talk about the stoned ape theory by Terence McKenna. And he said that, around over 200,000 years ago, there was a huge growth in the brain because these apes were following this, this kind of cow herd and they were eating mushrooms. So it was really creating this like incredible neuroplasticity in their brain, which created incredible cognition. So plant medicine has been around for years. We talk about our indigenous teachers, our indigenous wisdoms, and all of these amazing communities and cultures that really held people in community and use medicine to really help the spirit and the soul kind of grow and connect with nature and others and oneself. So plant medicine would be psilocybin, so magic mushrooms, as most
magic mushrooms
know it.
They're not
favorites.
The same kind of
so obviously, psilocybin and mushrooms is the big buzzword. This is what most people know about, but there's also ayahuasca, which is, known as the grandmother medicine, so ancestral teachings. There's iboga, which is grown on the trees in Gabon, which they use the bark, and that would be known as like the godfather, and is used in the synthetic version, ibogaine, in a lot of clinics, specifically in Mexico, and they're really helping people with PTSD and addiction. So there's the natural versions, and then there's synthetic versions. Okay. There's also bufo, which is frog, which is like that's a 20-minute shoots you to outer space.
Like? I feel like I haven't even scratched the surface.
We might need another episode for that one. So that would be considered like the God molecule because it's like you are up there. It's like a lot of people speak about it as the ego death. The synthetic version would be the 5-MeO-DMT. And then we think about other synthetic versions. So MDMA for PTSD specifically. And this is what MAPS and Lykos were just finished their phase 3 in the States. FDA just rejected it, which was a huge step back within the whole psychedelic space.
That's not what we really used MDMA for.
I was going to say.
Anyway.
And then, so, I mean, the list goes on and on. LSD, and like if we talk about microdosing or macrodosing, a lot of people use LSD or psilocybin. Macrodosing would be, other opportunities with depending on what it is you're looking for. But yeah, it's a pretty big conversation. Did I answer your question? I don't even know if that was the real question, but they all can be healing in all different ways.
That was the question.
So that's the next question
to know, like,
too.
the breadth of it. How many substances are we talking about when we say, because there's a lot of talk about like psychedelics, but we want to know what we're talking about exactly.
Yeah. So the only legal psychedelic in the States and Canada right now is ketamine. Okay. So, and a lot of people wouldn't even call it a psychedelic. It's a dissociative. So it's ketamine-assisted therapy. People would know it as maybe a party drug as well, or a horse tranquilizer. Yeah. It can be really, really beneficial for people that need some sort of a shift with what they're dealing with. So all psychedelics, I believe, can have healing properties in every way if you're using them safely, if you're using them with the right set and setting, in the right container with the right people. You want to make sure you're not at a party and then you take, 3 grams of mushrooms because, maybe you broke up with your boyfriend that day and then you're going to be dealing with some severe trauma in a really unsafe situation. So if you're set up in a really safe, opportunity.
And it's assisted. And you have
if you feel really safe, set, meaning mindset.
Yeah.
Setting where you are, making sure you're really comfortable, that you're going to be taken care of. And the container is like everything, like who you're with. And this is why I've been such a advocate for a retreat format, because you're in the natural, and nature.
You're not in a nightclub dropping
You're not in a nightclub, like trying to work people up.
It's not 2004 anymore.
That's right. Yeah. So, and it's a group ceremonial healing. So you're also being witnessed and you're witnessing other people's healing. You're healing while they're healing. So there's incredible opportunities for deep healing opportunities, specifically for macro and bigger doses in that way.
Can cannabis have psychedelic properties?
Yeah, absolutely. Can be used as a psychedelic. There's different, THC levels and different kind of strains that you can combine together to create more of a psychedelic experience. Some people even swear. Which one is that?
Which ones were those?
I would like a psychedelic experience with my weed.
It's funny, like some people swear off cannabis. They're like, it's never sat well with me. It makes me paranoid. It's not my thing.
Some people, it's not their thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Whereas, and then if that doesn't work for them, maybe mushrooms are their thing. Right. So it's really about, I guess a bit of exploration.
To the shrooms and the cannabis. So.
You like the combo.
It's the alcohol that makes it really crazy. It's actually not anything else.
Give me everything.
Once you throw in liquor, it's like
I feel like technically you're not supposed to be mixing these things.
No, that's the thing. It's like
that
I'm
might
not talking
not be
about assistance.
Yeah. That's not the healing opportunity.
No one's assisting me. That's the problem.
No, you need assistance. Yeah, that would be good for you. Okay, so what types of things are people using psychedelic therapy to address?
Yeah, you said shifts, but like, what does that mean?
I mean, oh my gosh, the list is endless right now. And this is why psychedelics is so exciting, because they're doing so much research and clinical trials and collecting data all around the world, because everyone knows that what we're doing doesn't work, right? The SSRIs are great to a certain degree. The talk therapy, it's great to a certain degree. But it's more like a Band-Aid, right? We're not getting to the extreme, the depth of trauma. You got to get in. I mean, Gabor Mate talks a lot about this. It's our bodies hold on to trauma. It's not just our story that we get so good at telling our story from our head, our monologue, right? You just like repeat your monologue over and over again, but you're not actually dealing with the core root of the problem. So psychedelics can help with treatment-resistant anxiety, depression, can help with eating disorders, can help with alcohol dependency, can help with extreme PTSD, complex PTSD, addiction, opioid addiction. I mean, they're having such great results from using ibogaine in obviously a safe clinical setting to help people move off of an opioid addiction, which is one of the toughest addiction to move off of. It's helping people with OCD. It's helping people even just like to connect within themselves, to explore your consciousness.
I think many people don't know all these things that it can help with. Like they just, or they don't know enough about it, or they assume it's only for certain things. But even like eating disorders, I would never think that would be so helpful for that.
Is it just because it rewires? Like, is that kind of the base of it? It
and
changes the brain chemistry?
Well, there's different theories on this, but when we talk about specifically MDMA for PTSD, it allows you to go to that traumatic experience. And this is why veterans are really passionate about, getting this passed legally. It allows you to go to a traumatic experience and to kind of redress it with a different opportunity. So when you come out of your journey, you're able to think and feel about that experience in a different way. So it kind of, readjusts it. And I have to say, when you do a macro dose of psilocybin or something like this, it's almost like a cleansing of your inside, like little, like scrub brushes, cleaning you. And it's really, they say it's not what you want, but it's what you need is what the medicine is going to do for you. Because you can set intentions and you can really, create a beautiful, safe space for yourself to move into these healing opportunities. But again, the medicine's going to go to where you need it to go. Do
you think a lot of people are afraid to go there?
It's scary. You have to be so brave, honestly, to step into this type of healing work, because a lot of the stuff most people have been hanging on to so hard for so long, this pain, you know, and we all have trauma. The moment we're born, we have trauma. Like we come out of the birth canal and like, that's pretty traumatic experience.
And you build your own story, like you said, your own narrative about it.
Yeah. And oftentimes people have never addressed their trauma. So it's just something that's sitting inside of them in their central nervous system that feels just so heavy and so strong and weighing them down. And it's just weight, you know, constantly moving through the day. And like, what a relief that would be to be able to let that go and to be able to move through your life with more freedom. Yeah. So it really, I mean, I don't want to say it is, you know, the thing that's going to fix humanity, but maybe it can.
It can help though. Why not? I think people are maybe too used to the traditional therapy that's out there. Like go speak to a therapist and only there's other things available to you.
And I also, I really want to reiterate as well that it's not just one and done. Like you go and do one large dose of psilocybin and you're fixed. You need to make sure you're doing proper preparation. You want to make sure you're working with the right people. You want to make sure that you are doing integration. Look into somatic therapy, look into IFS therapy. All of these different modalities are really going to help you become successful moving forward and moving, you know, through versus over versus under. You know, it's that book. Like you have to move through it.
You have to go through it.
I need to go on one of these journeys.
Let's go.
Like, I gotta do it before I die. Seriously.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll figure it out. I know all the people to connect you with.
Yeah, perfect. That's what you need. She'll be our guide. She'll be our shepherd. So you said that macrodosing can have that complete reset. Whatever you want to call it. What would you call that? A reset of...
Yeah, I mean, it's like addressing whatever big traumas, or it's a reset, or it's like a cleanse, or it's
So that's the macro dose. So people are talking a lot about micro dosing these days. So can you explain for everybody the difference between the two, and maybe who's a candidate for what, and what each of them are addressing? Because I feel like there's confusion there.
Also, what's micro versus macro? Like how much?
Totally.
Let's talk quantities.
How much should I do right now?
I started microdosing and then it turned into macrodosing.
Right. It's a slippery slope.
if you micro for the whole night, eventually it's going to turn into a macro at some point.
Yeah.
She finally hit 5 grams. And I think that everybody can be, you know, open to either opportunities. I think you get different things from both. But I also want to say too, not everybody should be doing psychedelics. You know, this is why a lot of people that are doing the good work for people and supporting them, they're doing a medical history. They're doing proper preparation. And sometimes they're saying, maybe now is not the right time. Like maybe continue to work with this therapist and, you know, maybe you might want to consider this in a year or maybe never. I mean, we think about always safety first. There's cluster B mood disorders. And if you've been diagnosed with one, you should probably not be doing any psychedelics. That would be like bipolar or narcissistic personality disorder and these kinds of things. But when we're talking specifically about microdosing and macrodosing, a dedicated macrodose, which Terence McKenna would say would be about 5 grams. Now, not necessarily the right dose for every body, right? Each body, each brain is different and unique. Each person's experience is very, very different. And that would be specifically for psilocybin.
Okay.
So that's a large dose.
Okay.
It's going to be about a 7-hour trip.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Okay. No, not interested.
How much are we talking in our hands? Like a full handful.
Yeah. Well,
and it does.
We'll show you next
time. Like I know when I've done shrooms before, like you start off and you're micro, but then once you like start layering, it does last a really long time though. Remember when we were all shrooming out when was that? In my backyard.
Oh God, this summer at some point.
We couldn't even get up. We were just looking at each other. Like can't do this right now.
And how was it though? Were you in a good place?
Great. We had each other.
We had each other and we were in my backyard and we were surrounded by friends and we were chilling. So it was the perfect vibe for
Were you recording it for the podcast? Is that no?
But we should.
But there was like a few other people that were on not that tip. Like they were like drinking. They wanted to go dance, and we were like, no.
We're like, there's twinkling lights here. What? Like we're staying so here and looking at the beautiful.
And that's the thing. It takes you into a different level from what other people are experiencing. Yeah. So a microdose is a sub-perceptual dose of psychedelic, right? So it would be like 1/10 of what you would do. So, you know, a micro, you don't want to have a hallucinogenic effect from it, right? You still want to be able to drive, to do work, to be able to show up like, you know.
Yeah, when you take a little amount, it's like it just takes the edge off, I feel like.
It takes the edge off.
You're just a little bit less
a little lighter. And this is why, you know, so many moms groups are really getting into microdosing specifically because, you know, there used to be this whole, you know, tendency of like moms, you know, wine, 5 o'clock, whatever, all these like drinking memes. And
you can't drive on that.
No. How can you drive your kid to soccer when you've had all these gossip? It's just like, it's inappropriate. But
useless.
But I think with microdosing as well, we think about what, you know, psychedelics, psilocybin can do for your brain, creating new neuroplasticity in your brain versus, you know, what alcohol does. You know, when we think about the list of drugs and like the, you know, the damage that all of them can do or have done, alcohol's at the very top. Psilocybin's one of the very bottom. So it's really, you know, it clears you out. It opens you up. It creates more connection within yourself, with your kids, with your family, all of these incredible opportunities. It also can bring creative elements into your day as well. So you feel more creative, more in line, more in tune with what's going on with you. And also when you go out in nature, you're able to kind of connect on a deeper level.
Music too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you're microdosing, like how the cumulative effect, if you're microdosing like every day for a certain amount of time, like is that accumulating in your, like how much, what's the time span for the accumulation?
Every morning kind of thing?
Yeah. So I think like really you don't want to microdose every day.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So no for the smoothies every morning.
Maybe take a break. Because you're, you know, like when you microdose every day, you won't feel it as much. It won't do as much for you. And also your body needs to kind of recalibrate after, right? So there's different programs that have been created out there. There's like the Stamets or the, you know, all these different things. So it's like 2 days on, 2 days off, or 1 every 3 days, or.
That's what I was wondering about was the cadence. Cause I know that it does and can build in your system. So like you're saying that there are programs that
there is dedicated programs for microdosing, which I think really takes the pressure off for people. And again, it is about education. It's about finding the right people that are, you know, guiding and supporting people along in this way. I created a Micro Mamas group a few years ago, and we were doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday because it was just easier to remember. Again, plant medicine is not addictive at all. No one's done a large dose of psilocybin and the next day woken up and wanted to do it again.
Right.
That just doesn't happen, right? You're just like, oh no, I'm good.
You know what? I'm going to take a break.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
Maybe in another year, but maybe not. And this is why Big Pharma is like, what's happening with psychedelics? How are we going to make our money? Right. So there's like buzzing around like the psychedelic space right now because, you know, people want to take over and they want to make money from it. Yeah. But again, this is not about ROI with plant medicine. This is a natural substance that Mother Earth has gifted us. Like listen to our indigenous teachers. Like, let's not abuse. Let's use with reverence. Let's use intentionality and respect with this types of medicine because this is the only way to use it with the right way because then medicine's going to work with you in the good way as well. Everything should be intentionality with this type of thing. So there's dedicated programs for microdosing. Again, making it really intentional, like maybe setting an intention, like giving thanks to that medicine before you take it, maybe journaling. And then, you know, like a program should last at least 4 to 6 weeks. Most beneficial, I would say about 3 months, because then you can get the most out of it. A macro dose, so big dose, it'd be one big one. Right? 7 long hours journeying.
7 hours. Like, are you
through.
eating? Are you going to the bathroom?
You're definitely not eating.
Like, what is happening?
You might need somebody to help you like walk to the bathroom. You're drinking some water, but like you're really moving through.
Are you like blindfold? Are you laying down?
It really depends on the situation, right? It depends on where you are, depends on who you're with. If you're in a clinical setting with like actual psychedelic-assisted therapy, then it's literally probably more music, you know, covering your eyes. If you're in a retreat format in nature, you're on your own. You're on your own
by the river.
Mattresses,
not too close to the river.
You're not swimming in the ocean and carried away.
No,
you're on your mat.
No swimming.
That is
Definitely no swimming.
You're not interacting really with other people.
Do people's fears take over in that state, or are you so deep within yourself that you've kind of cut that out now?
That's a great question. Because
I feel like
there's a lot of fear.
And stress, would that interrupt the process?
Or would that come to the surface?
Are you
Listen,
girls,
canceling
that out?
I got to let you know right now. Both of you are like, we're like, tell us.
We're also so ready.
What's going to happen to my anxiety? Yeah. No, my anxiety is going to stop the trip. No, like you can't stop the trip.
Have to have control.
Listen, before you go on, a 5 or 6 gram journey, you're nervous.
Of course.
If you're not nervous, I'd be concerned about you.
Yeah. You have a little too much experience.
We'd be
like this is really about like making sure again that you are really safe, you're being taken care of by the right people, that you are ready to let go in this experience. So this is going to be like here we go.
Yeah, that would make me feel good if I felt like I was in trusted hands. Like if I was with you, I'd be like, okay, Rebecca, you got this for the next 7 hours. Yeah. I'm your problem.
I'm your problem now.
This is what happens too. So you take it. It doesn't hit you right away. It's going to take maybe about 45 minutes, depending on your own metabolism.
Right, yeah.
Maybe a little bit longer.
All of a sudden it's like
you're like, oh, I'm good.
You
And then like eventually you start to feel it.
Right.
And then it gets big. Right. And then you might have an emotional experience. This is the point when it's like a big release inside of you, which is like the trauma releasing from your body, like maybe big tears, maybe like some really guttural pain. And then that kind of disappears. And then you just journey. I mean, obviously it's different for everyone else. I'm speaking specifically about what I've witnessed from others and what I've experienced. Some people can be in that trauma for a little bit longer. But it's really about the opportunity for you to let go and let the medicine do its work. And then you're going to be much better afterwards. It's really incredible what it's done for people's anxiety and their depression afterwards, where all of a sudden they're like, what happened? Why do I feel so good?
And then it just lasts.
Yeah, like, and depending on the person.
Your perspective on it has changed. Yeah. I feel like that's the big thing, right?
Well, I think too, like the most important part with specifically a macro dose, because it is so big, you're working through such big things, is the integration afterwards. Some people argue that the integration is actually more important than the ceremony itself. So you want to make sure that you are being supported through your integration, talking to someone that understands what this medicine can do for you, like really supporting yourself with meditation, nature immersion, journaling, really, really intentional work to really lock in these new neural pathways that you've created. This is the opportunity for you to create new space in your life so that you're not just walking down that same pathway that you've been walking through your entire life.
Right.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Love it. Okay, let's pause here for a quick commercial break and we will be right back. When you feel that first sign of a scratchy throat, do you just throw in the towel, cancel all your plans, and get right into bed with a heat pad and a cup of tea? Of course not. You're a parent. You do the responsible thing and you reach for Betadine, sore throat spray, or gargle. These products help treat infections that cause sore throats so you can bounce back faster. To learn more about Betadine, visit them online at betadine.ca. To be sure Betadine products are right for you or your family, always read and follow the label. The indicated age varies for each Betadine product. Feel the sign? Betadine. Okay, we are back and we've got more questions.
Okay, let's
many questions.
We got nothing but questions for you.
Love it.
Okay, so let's get a little bit more specific because this is a question that came up a lot for our community. Where are people supposed to go to find these psychedelic-assisted therapies? Like, is it here in Toronto? Is it internationally?
I know it's like one of those things where it's like no one knows where to go. Everyone's hearing about it. They're reading articles every single day. Oh, it's New York Times. Oh, and this and that. I mean, it's literally in the news every day about what psychedelic assisted therapy is doing for people and how it's helping people. And I mean, the fight to make this legal has been so real for the last 5 years, specifically since, back in the 70s.
Right.
So it's really hard to do legally in Canada and the States, unless you're doing ketamine assisted therapy. But at that point, you already need to prove that you're treatment resistant for anxiety, depression. So if some different SSRIs are not helping you, then, hopefully you can go and get ketamine assisted therapy. Again, ketamine is a short lasting drug. So a lot of people have said that the positive side effects from that doesn't last as long as a longer journey with psilocybin. You know what I mean? Which is also interesting.
Hot tip.
Put the K away.
Say no. Okay. Anyways. So again, that is legal jurisdictions, right? So obviously, I mean, I ran a fund, right? And we only invested in everything that was legal in legal jurisdictions. And we had to be super, up level about everything. Obviously, there is an underground movement in Canada and the States, and there's a beautiful underground movement. There are incredible facilitators that are holding space for people. But I also want to say there's a really dark undercurrent in the underground as well. So
that's my next question.
Oh yeah,
so don't worry about it.
So we talk about legal jurisdictions.
Yes, tell us where we're going.
Okay, so Jamaica, psilocybin has never been illegal. Netherlands, Amsterdam is a legal jurisdiction. British Virgin Islands, there's a wonderful retreat there as well. So I'm talking about retreat centers that can take good care of you. There's retreats in Costa Rica. In Costa Rica, it's still a bit of a gray zone, to be honest.
Okay.
There are 3 retreat centers there that have the alternative health license. So it means they're recognized by the government to be serving safely. I wouldn't recommend all of them, to be honest. I know a lot that I would recommend, or a lot of servers that I would recommend. But again, safety. Please do your due diligence. Please ask questions. If you have a server that's just about to just give you a whole bunch of medicine without doing, a medical, intake or prep, or talking about your history and talking about what you want to get out of this, your intentions, and doing integration afterwards, then I would really second guess where you're going. But again, it is still underground. It's not fully mainstream yet. So it is hard to find what it is you're looking for.
And it can be very price prohibitive, correct?
That's right.
What are we looking at in terms of cost for these places? If you want to go to like a great retreat in, say you want to go to the one you mentioned, British Virgin Islands. Say you want to go to that one. You're like, you know what? I'm going to get away. I'm going to get some sun and some sand in the mix and find myself.
Little vacay mode. I'm going to do some deep healing on my vacation.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, it's expensive. I'm not going to lie. Right. It's often priced in USD, so this would be probably between $5,000 and $8,000, and then that doesn't include your airfare. But this is also considering a retreat, right? So you're going to be there for almost a full week. Everything's taken care of once you're there.
Right.
And also this could change your life
Well, that's
forever.
The thing. It's like, it's an investment more so than a vacation.
Think about this.
So it's like, you've spent more, Disneyland is more expensive than that. Right. And that's definitely not an investment.
And
do
your kids even love it? Like, would they
love
you more if you deal with your trauma?
So like at least this is money going in the right place.
Robin Carhart Harris said, psychedelics is up there with the biggest things in your life that you will ever experience. Marriage, death, having a baby, falling in love, like all of these big things in life, your psychedelic experience, it's up there. It will shift what's going on in your life and actually probably really help you. So, and obviously everyone's different and has their own, things going on, but there's some incredible research right now.
That could turn your whole life around.
It really could. Yeah. So it's not something you just decide you're going tomorrow and doing it. It's really like an investment in yourself. Right. So, maybe saving up for a little while. I know some amazing companies that are doing scholarship funds, which is like, so we're always trying to find companies that are actually really wanting to help everyone and not just the super elite. Right. Because here, again, these divides between the super elite and the people that really need it, these different, so we can support different socioeconomic groups in all the ways that they would need, probably more so than maybe the super elite. So how do we make that happen? And we're still trying to figure that out in the industry as a whole, but, hopefully with more time, I think things will hopefully continue to move forward in the right direction.
And if you're looking for something more local, I know that you worked with them in the past as well, but Dimensions, where we host our wellness retreats, we just do the wellness retreat there. We don't do the Ascend program that they offer, but they do offer a program that offers psychedelic therapy using cannabis, because that's what's legal.
Yeah. So I'm also an investor in Dimensions, and I was with them from the very conception of the company. That's true. That's how I tried to get you to an early retreat with me. Yeah, we still need to do that together.
Yeah,
but
we should totally go together.
Yeah. So again, they take such good care of you. You're doing a cannabis ceremony instead of a psychedelic, but they do create a little bit more of a psychedelic opportunity with the cannabis, which is really great. But again, out in nature, in group ceremonial setting. Like there's
I think
saunas,
the setting was such
like
a
the
big
float
difference.
tank.
Yes.
Yeah. The psychotherapy
Yeah.
really combined all together to really support people in
Yeah.
this safe container.
No
also-
airfare.
And
No
no
airfare.
airfare.
It's just 2.5 hours north of Toronto.
Yeah.
You can get
It's a
yourself
nice
to
drive.
Dimensions. The
We like
food's
to cruise up
amazing.
there.
Yeah. The
Or you
food's
can
really
come
good
with
too.
us on a wellness retreat.
Yeah.
Feel free to reach
There
out
you
to
go.
us. Our next one is in January.
There's a
Right?
good plug.
Yeah.
I also have to say, when you're on retreat with people, these people become your new family.
100%.
That's one of my favorite
That's
things.
true too, actually.
Yeah.
That's what we found with our retreats. We end up, it's like a little group
Yeah.
gets formed and you have these moments
Well,
together.
I'm gonna-
You do cold plunge together.
I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
go to your next one just
Oh
so
my
I can
God,
hang out with you
please.
guys.
Hello.
That's the best selling point. You get to hang out with us.
Yeah. Like,
We'll assist you through cannabis any
Nice.
day, babe.
Oh, I bet.
In our
Yeah.
own way.
I'll assist you through psilocybin. You'll assist me with the cannabis.
Perfect.
Honestly, I've never been a cannabis user, so for me, that's
Oh,
always
boy.
been a bit of a challenging.
we could say the
We are-
same.
Yeah, we're happy little stoner
We
children.
are. Okay, so we just talked about the warm and fuzzy side, but we should
Okay.
pivot to the nefarious side too. So
We love that side too. I mean, there's always a shadow.
There's
We always have to work
always
with the
a
shadow.
We have to
shadow.
talk about that.
especially when there's drugs involved.
I feel like you put scary music up when we
Yeah.
talk. There's shadow.
The shadow, exactly. So obviously the psychedelic space is rife with imposters and a lot of conspirituality is happening in that space. So how do you recommend,
Conspirituality, I love
isn't
it.
that a good word?
It's a great word.
How do you recommend people wade through the sea of bullshit that exists out there and find experts who actually know what the fuck they're talking about?
Because there is those.
There's
woo-woo
imposters.
I mean, it's so tiring. Honestly, it's like when I was at the fund, I would get decks all the time, like presentations
right.
of, you know, people raising money and they're like, oh, we just bought this island in this indigenous community. And there's
We're
like,
gonna cut all the trees down.
we're gonna cut all the trees and we're gonna serve psychedelics. I'm like staring at 5 white men. Like, I'm like, what are you guys doing?
Bruh.
I looked at her. I'm like, there's nobody indigenous in there's no women on your team. What are you?
Right.
Why do you want to do this?
Nobody has a medical degree.
I
Nobody
mean,
has any like.
No, and it's really, again, there was such a bandwagon to
Right.
kind of jump onto, but really, I think it is when you talk to somebody, you understand their integrity and why they're doing this work, and it really has to do with they just want to help people, and because they've experienced the work themselves. A lot of people
Right.
that get into this space were dealing with extreme mental health issues or extreme trauma, and then they found their way, and their way actually, you know, push them to want to help other people. So yeah, asking lots of questions, understanding there is a dark undercurrent to this space. I mean, for women, I would never suggest a woman do psychedelic assisted therapy or, you know, a journey with just a male in the room. Please make sure you're safe. You know, there's all these little kind of things that you really just want to make sure your safety is your top priority always.
So let's say I'm signing up for a retreat. And I'm like, okay, this looks really good. Great website. Like, am I, you know, reading the testimonials first? Am I looking for like a way to contact somebody there? And like, are people open to having
there should
be.
Absolutely. There should be, you know, communication has to be top priority because this is something obviously very new for most people.
Right.
Again, it's not mainstream yet.
And it's so scary.
And there's still so much fear
Yeah.
based around this because it's what the government taught, right? It's going to
Right.
scramble your brains.
Yeah.
and
Like, this is your brain on drugs.
Right. You're going to jump off a building, like all of these things. Like
Right.
really, there's not very many cases of people going into psychosis whatsoever. I think there's been more stories with high THC levels with cannabis, which is also interesting. I have a very good friend who has a master's in psychedelics. His name is Dr. Ron Shore. He's a very good friend of mine. And I was just like kind of asking him a few of these questions because, you know, what is reality right now? What is real? Who is doing what and why, right?
Mm-hmm.
So information, education. Again, it's still hard to find a lot of this stuff because it is not legal yet. So you really do have to search for different ways. I mean, a good gateway for people, I love to use the word gateway, How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan. He wrote the book and then they turned into a 4-part series on Netflix.
Yeah.
But there's no shortage of Instagram accounts that you can follow with great information and, you know, people in the industry really, you know, supporting this space. I've spoken at many different psychedelic conferences around the world. And there's, you know, there's such a great networking community in the psychedelic space of people that really just want to help people. And how are they going to do that? And how can they, you know, connect people with the right people? So again, it is just word of mouth sometimes too.
Right.
Making sure you're talking to the right people people and doing the right thing. But again, focus on preparation and integration. Do they have a whole program set up if you want to do a retreat? All of that kind of stuff is really important.
I think we could probably, if you have a list of trusted, not on the show, but we could put it somewhere.
I don't have a list.
Or like,
but you know, it's interesting.
Accounts that people can follow.
Yeah, like resources or like whatever you trust that we can pass on that can be trusted.
I think it's interesting too. I have a couple friends right now developing different companies, like an online platform, and like, you know, another company where they want to be able to connect facilitators with people, you know, like all of these different things. We almost started an association of safe medicine servers in Costa Rica, but then I was just like, this is too big. Like, what right do I have to step into this? Like, I cannot be the police of, you know, facilitators and servers, because anybody can wake up tomorrow and say they're a plant medicine server. Yeah, we've noticed. It's like, I'm a dog walker now, right? Like, where's your certification? Here it is. I just printed it out for you. You know, trust me.
The nightlife you have to be careful. Psychedelic facilitator pipeline is real.
Well, it's real too.
Yeah, that's crazy. Every time I see that, I'm like, bro.
Yes, bro.
Show me your medical degree, babe.
Yeah. And the other thing is, honestly, clinicians are sometimes not the best medicine servers because it is based on intuition. Yeah, you know, like I did the Beckley Academy, the Foundations of Psychedelic-Assisted Therapy course, and they only let in people with a certification in, you know, social work or psychotherapy or social work. And I don't have one of those, but they, you know, allowed me to take this course just of, you know, my education in this space and how, you know, what I've done in this space already. Right. And a lot of the time I was thinking these clinicians would be terrible psychedelic space holders, because it's really based on intuition.
Like too clinical.
It's energy. Yeah. It's like holding space for people in this way with medicine it's a different energy. So, you know, one person might fight for a clinician, which is great depending on the level of trauma you're dealing with. Or someone's going to want maybe somebody that's just much more woo, that's like going to play the flutes situation. And like do all the, you know.
Can you play the flute?
I need the flute right now. I mean, that I love, you know, traditional indigenous plant medicine music. It just courses it works with the medicine in such a different way. Right. It's incredible. Yeah. But again, you do have to be very, very careful on why that person is doing this work and how they do the work and how many people they've already served, and, you know, what is the word of mouth and
trust your own intuition, I would say, too. Really, when you're speaking to someone and connecting with them, and they're going to be the one that takes you on, like, who do you trust? Your body will tell you.
True.
Like, I trust Rebecca, but I don't know about anybody else so far.
Well, I mean, it's almost like, remember when you were pregnant? Like when I was pregnant, I used to teach yoga, and I would teach, you know, prenatal yoga, and I would say, listen to your body first. This is your opportunity to really key into how your body feels. If it doesn't feel good, then by all means, like, change your body position. Really tune into your needs. And this is what it's all about, to remind yourself intentionally, what do you need, and listen to your intuition. And we're so good, especially as women, we're so good at not listening to our intuition. We're so good at saying, oh, okay, sure. Yeah. Well, you must know more.
Not over here.
Not us.
Well, we have to remind ourselves sometimes, right? That this person speaks a really good game, but what does my intuition say? And
but once you tap into that more often and becomes a practice, you can identify it so quickly. Like, and we always do vibe checks with people too. Anybody we work with, we're always like, what's the vibe check? If we both feel kind of about it and we don't know why, that's all we need to know.
I love that.
It's off the table.
And like two brains, right? That's good.
You feel it too, right? You're like, it's weird, right?
Yeah. Things are weird there, right?
It's good. And like for me too, when I love to sit in silence, and that used to be the hardest thing for me, was sitting in silence. But since I started really going deeply into this work, sitting in silence and just saying like, what do I need to know? You know, and then not forcing anything and just giving it time and just listening to this, right? Not all these ideas, powerful. Not all these coaches, not all these people that think they know what's right for you. They don't know what's right for you. Right. You know what's right for you.
Right.
Listen to that. That's what's most exciting for me.
Hot tip, babe.
Got all the hot tips today.
Okay, so one of the questions that came up in the community is there a difference between how psychedelic therapy affects men versus women? Is that being studied? Is there anything that's come to light from that? Like, is it affecting the sexes in different ways?
To be honest, I really wanted to go deep into this and say, yes, women need this and men need it. But really, it's very similar in both ways. brains and bodies, right? So
and your hormones don't fuck it up for once. Just curious.
I mean, like different things can happen. Yeah. Like I witnessed this incredible woman. She had never done psychedelics before. I witnessed her on a retreat. And it was like a really big journey for her. And she actually got her period while she was journeying. And like, just like, it was like a really, really difficult experience for her.
Yeah.
So, you know, obviously we always carry more than men anyways, right? Like with all the hormones, with having babies, perimenopause. I mean, it's just never ending. So again, intuition and how do we take the best care of ourselves? It was been really interesting witnessing the psychedelic space because, you know, I witnessed all of these men wanting to take over and make money and like create businesses. And I saw these incredible women in this space creating community. Like I think about all these.
Shocking to no one.
Why? I wonder. And we're so good. The sisterhood is so good. It's like Sister in Psychedelics, the Celebrating Women in Psychedelics, and Moms on Mushrooms, like all of these incredible groups of women coming together to support each other and to support this industry as a whole, because we just didn't want to see what happened to all of the other industries happen again.
Totally.
Right. So let's continue to support women. Let's continue, to create safe spaces for women to move through their traumas, because our traumas are can be very different.
Yeah. Well,
from
even
what men might be dealing
childbirth
with.
is traumatic.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
for your body. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's take one more commercial break. And then when we get back, we'll discuss some safety precautions and
safety first.
Pick Rebecca's brain for the last time in this session anyway.
There's always another time.
What's in our cups? Probably INE Plus Nutrition. We added INE Plus Nutrition supplements into our daily routine about a year ago. Our favorite is their Super Greens powder that delivers the gut healing, energy-inspiring effects of superfoods like ginseng, spirulina, wheatgrass, alfalfa, and so many more. Seriously, we would never have the time, energy, or patience to source and consume all of these herbs, vegetables, and green foods every day. So we love that INE Plus Nutrition has done all the hard work for us.
All we have to do is shake with some water and ice and enjoy. The best part? All of INE Plus Nutrition's products are manufactured in Canada, third-party tested, CGMP, FDA, and NSF certified, so you can feel good about what you're consuming. Try it for yourself by visiting them online at inenutrition.com and use code RMX10 for 10% off at checkout. And now, back to the show. So, I live on Queen Street.
Yeah.
I am seeing exactly. There's the context for you. Mushroom shops are popping up like crazy all over the place. What is their legal status? And in your opinion, can these retailers be trusted?
And online. A lot online.
Yeah, a lot online.
We've been
too.
passing it around. I mean, we pass it to each other. We're like, here's this website. And like, we're not really sure, you know? So sometimes the branding and the packaging is really nice.
Right. But how's the product?
You know?
I mean, and this is like the $1 million question. Like, where do we buy our psychedelics? And how do we, you know, explore our consciousness and have these resets? So yeah, there's all of these stores popping up in Ontario, which has been like a phenomenon because it's still illegal.
Right.
Let's not forget that, right?
Is it
like, how is
it gray? Like I remember when all the head shops popped up and it was like, well, it's decriminalized, but it's not legal. So,
not yet.
So it's so these
fully
stores
illegal.
How are these
so
stores
this is what
doing
happened. This is, you know, what has been explained to me.
As we shop happily.
Yeah, exactly. Your car, take some of these chocolate bars. So these shops are opening up illegally, and then the cops are coming down. They're like, oh, here you are. We got to shut you down. We're going to take all your produce, which is mushrooms, which is like, costs pennies to grow. You can grow your own mushrooms at home if you want. So they take all of their produce, they slam the door shut, and then the company will pay off the $100,000 or whatever it is to reopen, or like to pay off their fine. Then they just reopen and, you know, and put all this new product in the shops. So again, you have to be careful on where this medicine is coming from, making sure that this medicine is made properly with, you know, the right intentions, because plant medicine carries energy, right? I had a friend that bought a chocolate bar for one just to check it out. And like he has his own mushroom company and he was like, I'm going to go see what these guys are selling.
Right.
And he opened up a bar and it was moldy. And again, like mushrooms, it's fungus. It is a type of mold, but you don't want to eat literally a moldy chocolate bar, right? So
some of the chocolates are so good, by the way.
Yeah, and
they're so tasty.
Like, I know. This is so good.
It's like weed. It's like when weed chocolates and brownies first came out. It's like you need two. You need the one with the substance in it, and then you need the one without, because you're gonna want more.
Yes.
Because when you want more, you're gonna need that other chocolate bar that is not intoxicating.
Eat the chocolate.
This is why she hangs out with me on all my journeys.
Yeah, I'm like, safe chocolate time, babe. Yeah, it's time for safe chocolate.
Otherwise, there's companies online. There's some amazing Canadian companies with some, I know these guys have created incredible, product with
we'll add it to our notes.
Yeah.
Well,
so
we might just have to put your contact in the show notes.
Everyone's going to get
hundreds of emails
directly.
I do not have my own company, unfortunately. Wouldn't that be nice?
Oh my God, that would make our lives
here, everybody.
So easy.
RebeccaSays.com.
Yeah, when things legalize, and maybe I'll be the first woman that has a
we'll be
trusted psilocybin.
Got your back.
You need to do our model and have a directory.
Okay, yes, that's a great idea.
That's what you need.
What's interesting too, though, like we talk about the legal scope, and Canada has the SAP program which is the Special Access Program. They've allotted close to 300 opportunities for people to do legally assisted psychedelic-assisted therapy, mostly for end of life. Recently, someone that had cluster headaches. So this is being psilocybin or MDMA. So really low numbers, right? Getting legal access to this medicine, which is just really devastating.
Right.
In the States, Oregon is doing psilocybin-assisted therapy. They're doing an amazing job. I'm sure Canadians can go there and do a journey with somebody in Oregon. They're also setting up microdosing there too, like microdosing shops, which is pretty cool. Colorado is next. They're probably going to be starting healing centers in 2025. But in Canada, you can buy so much product online all the time. There's so many ways to buy it online very easily. It's like always accessible. In the States, it's very hard to buy online, but there's legal places where you can do this type of work. So
and then there's all the retreats that
and then there's all the international retreats.
You could start your directory with those.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Right? Just an idea.
Let's talk after the show.
We'll chat after. Exactly.
Are we all going into business together?
We are.
Maybe.
Probably.
You know what? I wanted to ask you this question before, but I want to get it in before we wrap up. People obviously need to weigh the risk factors for drug-induced psychosis. We mentioned that briefly before the break. So how are facilitators managing that? Is it just an intake? Do you give these people your medical history? Are you like, who's managing it and how?
And what's the risk, actual risk?
And what is the real...
Shit happens,
but...
Shit happens. It doesn't happen very often with psychedelics, and like your question is, that just actually doesn't happen that often. It's extremely safe. Now, again, medical history is very important. If you are dealing with some sort of a cluster B mood disorder, I would stay away from psychedelics completely.
Right. Even if you have like a family history? Like maybe it's
again,
not
rented. I mean, I'm not a doctor, so I can't specifically say. I think it is each individual is a unique situation, and if a retreat center isn't really treating each person as an individual in that way,
that's a red flag.
I would second guess. I mean, it's a really tough industry. It's really hard to run a retreat center, back-to-back retreats. It's an extremely a lot of work, but there are some amazing companies that they're really doing their work. Again, a lot of these facilitators maybe have a longer relationship with people that want to do this type of work, so they know them on a deeper scale. I think it's really important that you do develop a closer relationship with that therapist in a way, or that facilitator, so that they know what you're dealing with, maybe the different things you want to work through. But again, the psychosis element, I think, is again attached to the fear-based mentality that started up in the 70s when people were starting to, like protest war and, really just wanting to, kind of create that fear around psychosis and psychedelics. And again, it's just not proven to happen that often at all.
Oh, that's good to know. Okay. Can you recommend books and resources to people that are just interested in learning more? Maybe they're not ready to go to a retreat quite yet, but their curiosity is getting the best of them. Like I know you mentioned Michael Pollan's book and the Netflix series. Is there anything else that people can?
I mean, there's no shortage of books out there. Like consciousness medicine is really good, but I think really on social media, there's incredible sites you can follow. Psychedelics Today. Paul Austin is a good friend of mine. He puts a lot of information out about microdosing, and microdosing too is sometimes good for people to start out with, so they just feel what it's like to have that in their body versus just immediately going into a macrodose situation.
Fair. I mean, dip your toe in first before you take the dive.
Yeah, exactly. But there's a ton of online resources, and maybe I could write them out. You can kind of have them
that'd
later.
Be great, because I think that's where people, like a lot of our community anyway, that's where they are now. They're like, they're moms, they're not going to do something that they don't know everything about. So everybody's in research mode right now. I hope that this episode helps people. But if they want to go beyond and they want to learn more, then we would love to provide those resources. Yeah,
and I think there's incredible podcasts out there as well. Like I know Andrew Huberman did one specifically around psychedelics. Tim Ferriss has spoken about psychedelics quite often. And there's like if you just go into the podcast and type in psychedelics, you'll find different podcasts that are specifically around psychedelics, and that's a really easy way. So if you're looking specifically for information on any element regarding whatever to do with whatever with psychedelics, then you'll find something within the podcast region as well.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Okay, good. And we'll link anything that we have available as well. Well,
amazing.
Babe, our time is up.
I mean, have either of you ever done a macrodose?
No,
not a macro,
but a little bit of like recretional use.
We've done micro that's been patted on top and probably became like half a macro. But I haven't ever done enough of it on its own to really know what it feels like when we're microdosing or we're out. And I do love it with music, and it definitely makes me happier and takes the edge off. But it ends up being like in conjunction with marijuana and tequila, and that changes the trip quite a lot, I think, because then you start to feel loopy.
That's right. Yeah. So I think if we're talking about, there's recreational use.
That's what we do.
And then there's like the more of the mental health.
I mean, I would love to explore that too, though.
Yeah.
We all hold so much inside, and I like.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no shame to that either. We're here to experience life today, right? Like, and how do we make it more intentional? And there's always these more opportunities to delve into our own mental health and also consciousness exploration. I truly believe that it should be a basic human right that we can explore our consciousness from a medicine that was grown from the earth, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
56 years ago, like mushrooms and natural plant medicine became illegal. Why? Right? We got to think about that.
I almost get the like maybe not so much on like the acid, like anything that you have to like cook.
That's the difference between synthetic and natural plant biomass too.
Exactly.
Which I'm not saying one is worse than the other, but like our bodies do synthesize things differently, right? So again, like really key into what it is that you want and why you want it. Like again, why are people wanting to start businesses or to facilitate? Ask why. Ask those questions. Really be honest with yourself.
People, or do you want to make a quick buck? Like that's it's a trend that you're jumping on.
Yeah.
And really again, just leaning into your intentionality and like what it is that you're looking to gain from it. So if you're going to start a microdosing program, what it is you're looking to gain from that, what a treat that is for you, that you're paying so much attention to your needs.
Yeah.
Because who else is doing that for you?
Yeah. Nobody.
I mean, my kids aren't really for me. I mean, they probably would think they are, but like, really
it's a one-way street with the kids. We're looking out for them, and that's the way it's supposed to be. It's fine, but like, they ain't looking out for us. That's for sure.
And I also, exactly. Nor should they be. It's not their job. But like again,
until we're like really old,
and we're like, just give me the fucking assisted antidepressant.
I mean, and that brings us to an interesting conversation. I became very good friends with Amanda Fielding. She's a baroness. She's known as the Queen of Psychedelics. She's now, I think, 81 or 82. She lives in the UK. She's extremely well known. She was on Joe Rogan recently, and her and I did a retreat together. And she would turn to me and she'd be like, isn't it so beautiful? I was like, oh my God, my hero.
You're like, you know what? It is fucking beautiful.
But she honestly, the first time I met her on Zoom, and she has been advocating for psychedelic research and psychedelic-assisted therapy for 30 plus years with the Beckley Foundation. So
wow.
She was telling us about this research she was doing for elderly people. And she showed us this picture of this woman who was 92. And she had complete dementia, and she was just gone in her chair. Like, we could all imagine what that looks like. Mm-hmm. It was a really devastating picture. And then her son came to her and he gave her a microdose of LSD. And then she showed the picture of this woman with her microdose of LSD, which is so safe, which is so small. And this woman was lit up, like, with some complete
whatever was
happiness.
Going on inside.
She recognized her son.
No way.
Yeah. And she was there with him. So we think about like end of life conversations too, and quality of life and all of this. Like, that's in my, like, for my kids when I'm old, make sure you're microdosing me because like, I want to have again time MDMA, on the way out.
Check. Ketamine, yes. LSD, absolutely.
Everything all at once. Yeah. So I mean, again, all of these things, it is really important to understand what this can do for us so that we can live a healthy and happy life while we're here. This is our opportunity.
Oh my God. What a good point to end on. This is so good. Do you want people to find you on the internet? Where can they find you?
Sure. I mean, and also I'm also developing some programs for people too, if we want to talk about this at a later time as well. But people can find me on Instagram at Rebecca_Nicholson_ or my website, RebeccaNicholson.ca is probably the easiest way at this point.
We'll tag you all over the place too.
Tag, hashtag.
Yeah, you'll be hearing from us.
Love you.
Babe, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Talking us through this.
Oh my God, group hug.
This is very psychedelic of us. All the love that we're feeling.
I know. I feel like I really should have worn a psychedelic shirt for you today.
What were you thinking?
No tie-dye,
Here's
the thing. I can't be too woo when I talk about psychedelics. I have to really make this grounded conversation or people don't take it seriously. Here's the druggie. I mean, not like...
Here she comes with her tie-dye shirt.
That's right, yeah.
Oh my
She's
God.
got mushroom sunglasses on today.
It would have been appropriate for this podcast. Well, thank you to Rebecca. Thank you to our wonderful listeners for tuning in once again to the Rebel Mama podcast. As always, please like, rate, and review this podcast wherever you're listening, and share it with a friend who's been asking you about psychedelics. And
watch us on YouTube because we're going to be there.
Exactly. Most importantly, find us on YouTube. This podcast was produced by Space Monkey inside the Soda Studio. The song you're listening to is called Name and Number off the debut album Unrequited by Roshan. Stream it now on Apple Music.
And thanks to this episode's sponsor, Betadine. To learn more about why they've been trusted by healthcare professionals to help treat and prevent infections for over 60 years, visit www.betadine.ca or find them on our directory at therebelmama.com/directory. When you feel the sign, Betadine.